Welcome into another exciting edition of the Stingray Show, everybody. Today we're going to talk about the SEC. We're going to have Cole Cubelic stop by. We're also going to talk with you guys and get your take on the big weekend coming up in college football. And just like we did in the last show, we were not able to get to a couple of highlights. So we're going to go back to last week and discuss a couple of games. And like I said, we're going to have Cole Cubelic on the show. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as we get you guys primed and ready for this upcoming college football weekend only on the Stingray Show.
The Dogs and Stingray are coming for you!
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Good afternoon, Mr. Feinbaum. Stingray here, and I'm about to shoot the bull with you like all the Auburn students do down at Auburn.
Worst defense ever!
So without further ado, here is the biggest Alabama going for the field goal. The kick is up. It is away. It is no good. Chris Davis bringing it out of the end zone. Oh, he's got blockers. Chris Davis up the sideline. Here he goes.
Here we go, guys. Dobbs back to pass. Launching the ball. Jennings, he's got it. Jennings, he's got it. Touchdown, Tennessee. They shocked the Dogs in Sanford Stadium. Are you kidding me? My God almighty. What an epic way for the Tennessee-Georgia rivalry to end this game. What a play. Wow.
Welcome inside another exciting edition of the Stingray Show, everybody. This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, and I hope everybody's doing well on this Friday. We actually had a football game last night. Appalachian State took down Arkansas State, and it was a great football game to start. But then Appalachian State went on ahead and pulled away and won 45-17. So there was a little bit of football last night. There was also an NFL football game. And then tonight, the Big Ten kicks off again. So another Power 5 conference is kicking off this weekend. It's going to be a lot of great action. So let me go ahead and bring in my co-host, Heath Hopkins. And Heath, how's it going, my friend? Are you doing okay? Oh. Sorry, man. I had your microphone muted. I apologize. So let me ask you again. How are you doing on this Friday?
Hey, it's Fun Friday, Stephen. I'm ready for the weekend. Lots of football to talk about. Hey, maybe we stop calling the little 10. Maybe they bump up to the medium-sized 10 or Big 10. They got to earn that name back. But it's good to have them back playing football.
Absolutely. And, man, we got a great show on tap today.
Yes.
Go ahead and tell our viewers how they can join the show.
Well, guys, if you want to come on video with us, all you got to do is send send a message, a direct message here to the show. We'll send you a link. You click on it. We'll pull you up, and you can ask your question. We'll take any question. SEC questions I like the most, but we'll answer any of your football questions that you might have. But all you got to do is come on and ask what you like. Hey, keep it family friendly. Mom's watching. And make sure you're not boring, right? Keep your clothes on and don't be boring.
Absolutely. And for some reason, the chat on my end is not pulling up on the side of the screen. So you're going to have to take over the questions on the chat portion for today.
Well, not a problem. Mr. Johnny D's already chimed in saying what an exciting weekend up ahead. And I agree, Johnny D.
Absolutely. Well, let's go on ahead real quick and talk about some games that we were not able to get to the last weekend because we had such an action-packed show this past Tuesday. And what game would you like to start with, Mr. Heath?
Oh, geez, man. What did we miss out on last week? We missed out on several SEC games, especially SEC West games, right?
Yeah, we didn't talk about South Carolina upsetting Auburn or Kentucky upsetting Tennessee.
Yeah, let's You know what? Let's put that Carolina game there on the back. I want to talk about that one a little bit more. So let's talk about Auburn.
Okay. All right. Well, as a matter of fact, South Carolina upset Auburn, and they beat them 30-22. And that was the first time South Carolina had knocked off Auburn since 1933. Yes, let that rumble around in your brain for a second.
1933. Stephen, I'm a little bit of a history buff, but I can't tell you who was president in 1933 off the top of my head. Wow, 1933. That's just crazy. That's absolutely mind-boggling. Hey, I want to give props to the South Carolina unis. I mean, Auburn's wearing their stormtrooper look. They got the all-white stormtrooper look.
Yes.
But South Carolina bringing back the black helmets, but they went with the black matte helmet. That's pretty smooth looking.
Yes.
But
then, I'm trying to pull up. I'm gonna go ahead and pull you. I'm gonna take myself down for a second. I'm trying to pull up some notes real quick. Okay.
Sure. But South Carolina last week, what a shocker! I mean, Colin Hill making things happen for the Gamecocks, and that defense hasn't figured everything out yet, but they're still coming together. I mean, South Carolina, Shy Smith making things happen, receiving. I mean, there's a lot of big things happening at Carolina this year. Mike Bobo calling the plays there in offense. So, it just kind of it's starting to come together for Will Muschamp in South Carolina. Will they keep it together? I don't know. But looking at Auburn, I've been saying it all season long. I've got so many question marks with Auburn, and each week I just keep getting more and more question marks. After that Arkansas game, I had even more question marks. And then now I'm at everything that I thought about Auburn coming into the season is a question mark. Cole Cubelic, who will join us here shortly, he talked about an amazing stat with Bo Nix. Bo Nix stats on the road are not good at all in his career at Auburn. I mean, yeah, last year was a freshman. Now he's a sophomore. But Bo Nix, his numbers are not good on the road. At home, he's a different quarterback. His numbers are outstanding. But on the road, and Cole will talk about that here later in the show.
Sorry, I put up the wrong graphic. Okay, so here is what is going on. Back in 1933, the last time South Carolina defeated Auburn, Shirley Temple signed a contract with Fox when she was only 5 years old. Wow. The original King Kong movie is shown for the first time. The first drive-in theater is established in New Jersey. The chocolate chip cookie was invented, and the board game Monopoly was invented that year. And the president of the United States of America was Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Wow. Wow.
So that was what was going on the last time South Carolina upset Auburn. And I tell you what, man, the film King Kong actually was premiered in March of that year. So that was before the college football season. But I tell you, man, that's a long, long time.
Wow. So basically, we lived in a world with no King Kong the last time South Carolina beat Auburn.
Yes.
Crazy, man.
I know. And listen to this. Albert Einstein immigrates from the United States from Germany.
Wow.
Now that is insane.
Wow.
So I mean, but here's the deal though. Here's my question to you though.
Okay.
Is it time to move on from Gus Malzahn down at Auburn? I personally think it is. I really think it is time to move on.
I'm not there yet. I'm not saying I'm on the Gus bus, but I'm not there yet. I think Gus Malzahn, he put a lot of eggs in his basket last year, starting Bo Nix, and said, we've got to make him the future. He put a lot of eggs in that basket, and he said, I'm going to ride with this, and we'll go through the bumps and bruises together, because he had a lot of faith in Bo Nix.
Yes.
That decision might cost him his job. And I hate to say that for Bo Nix and the Nix family that have done so much for Auburn over the years. But, man, whenever you put that much faith into one player to improve your system, I mean, that's intense. That's very intense. And if it backfires, there's no safety net there. So, do I think Bo Nix can be a good quarterback? I was so impressed with Bo Nix in week 1. I was so impressed. But, again, like I said earlier, Bo Nix is a different quarterback on the road. He is not a good quarterback on the road. Not yet. Not yet. I still think Bo Nix can learn and become a good quarterback on the road. You know, he's still just a sophomore, a true sophomore, if I'm not mistaken. So I'd like to see what happens for the rest of the season with this crazy season. But I don't know if the school administration, with them taking such a hit this year, and this is every school in America. You know, COVID has wiped out a lot of emergency funds and rainy day funds, and some of these big boosters are not as big as they once were. So I don't know. And no, I'm not taking us down this route, but heaven forbid if the election doesn't go what boosters want, they're worried about taxes going up. So I think there's a lot of uncertainty right now. But I will say this with that Auburn game this week, and I'm looking here at the schedule. Man, Auburn and Ole Miss this week, if they struggle at Ole Miss, let me rephrase that. They can struggle and still win, but if they lose at Ole Miss, that's going to raise a lot of eyebrows, and that's going to be a scary situation. Johnny D's asking, who would I rather have, Nix or Garantano? I take Bo Nix, even on the road. Garantano is so inconsistent at times. And a little bit of a turnover machine, but Bo Nix is young and still learning. So, Johnny D, there's my answer for that one. But, Stephen, what about you? Would you take Nix or Garantano?
Bo Nix, definitely. But let me just go ahead and say this about going back to Gus Malzahn. This was Gus Malzahn's record as of Saturday, October the 3rd, 2020, and that was, of course, going into the Georgia game. He is 3-4 against Alabama, 2-7 against Georgia, which is now 2-8.
Yeah.
2-5 against LSU, 2-5 in bowl games, 1-4 in bowl games versus major conference teams, 0-11 in Baton Rouge, Athens, and Tuscaloosa. 35-27 now against SEC opponents. 15-16 versus 15-17 SEC opponents on the road. That is awful.
I wouldn't say it's awful, but it's not good.
Right.
I've heard worse numbers. Yeah, there's room for improvement. You got to remember too, Gus Malzahn, he didn't inherit the greatest situation, but he turned it around quick.
Yes.
You know, and just like Terry Bowden, I'll never forget Terry Bowden when he was on ABC Sports years ago in studio with John Saunders, and he was talking about his brother at Clemson, and his brother had won a big game in his first year there at Clemson, and John Saunders asked him, he said, "Terry, do you have any advice to your brother?" He goes, "Yeah, don't go 11-0 in your first season."
I know.
So that I laughed so hard I almost fell off the couch. But, you know, the whole premise of that is that Gus came in and was hugely successful early, and I think people expected him to maintain that success.
Yes.
And you know, but on the other side of that, you know, he keeps beating Saban every other year. So, you know, the most successful of those stats that you read, the most successful was against Bama.
Yes.
So you would like to think that, you know, they're a little inconsistent, but they can play above their heads and make things happen. So I'm not ready to put Gus on the hot seat. I know Auburn fans have, some haven't. I know other national media members have. I'm just not there yet on the hot seat. But I will say this, he loses this weekend. Oh, it's very hot. It's extremely hot. Oh, guess we might have lost Steven. Steven, are you back with us? There you are.
I'm still here, man.
So, I don't know, Steven. What do you think? I don't think he's there yet. I heard what you said, but if they lose in Oxford this weekend,
yes.
Looking at the rest of the schedule, you've got LSU at home. You're at Mississippi State. That Mississippi State defense is good. That offense is terrible.
I know.
And then you got Tennessee. They've been up and down. Then you got Bama at Bama on the road. We talked about Gus on the road and Nix as well. And then you wrap it up with A&M, who is starting to figure things out. So there's not too many wins after this week.
I know. And that's why, some of these games are really crucial moving forward. Let me just go ahead and say, while we have people watching right now, let me also go back to this little thing right here. This is some of the things that were going on. As you can see down there, South Carolina knocks off Auburn for the first time last weekend since 1933. Shirley Temple signs a contract with Fox when she was 5 years old there in 1933. The original King Kong movie is shown for the first time. The first ever drive-in theater is established in New Jersey. The chocolate chip cookie is invented, and the board game Monopoly is invented the last time South Carolina knocked off Auburn. Oh, and the president of the United States during the time that the game was going on was Franklin D. Roosevelt. So that is...
There wasn't even chocolate chip cookies.
Yes, that's insane.
What
now?
What kind of world are we living in where there's not chocolate chip cookies? I said, what kind of world are we living in where there's not chocolate chip cookies?
I know.
Crazy.
That's insane. So, are you ready to also? Yes, that's yeah. All right, let's also shift gears and talk about another big football team and a major upset last weekend, and it was the Kentucky Wildcats traveling to Tennessee, Rocky Top, and Rocky Top has major issues right now. They earlier this week, they went on ahead and fired their defensive line coach, which I felt like they should have fired their offensive coach because Jarrett Garantano threw 2 pick sixes in this game back to back, and then he turned the ball over for a third time. So basically that took Tennessee out of the football game, and Kentucky got their first win in Knoxville since 1984.
Wow, 1984.
Yes.
Let's see if I can think of some stats from 1984. Ronald Reagan, president. Van Halen releases their greatest album ever.
Yes.
Self-titled 1984. Let's see what else happened in 1984. If I'm not mistaken, the Detroit Tigers beat the Padres in the World Series in 84. Your Super Bowl champions in 84. I believe it was the Niners, and a second-year player, Dan Marino, was the Super Bowl with the Niners winning. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on that.
Yes.
But wow, 1984. Steven, I don't even think you were on this earth then, were you?
I was born in 88.
There you go. Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
So, major props to Mark Stoops and Kentucky, and especially after they looked really bad and had some close losses to Auburn because they were obviously in that football game and then let it get away. And then the Ole Miss game where they, missed that the extra point, not the field goal, the extra point in overtime to lose it. Then they come back and knock off Mississippi State and now Tennessee.
I predicted last week Kentucky would beat Tennessee. I was not comfortable with that prediction.
Yes.
But, man, make me look like a stinking genius now. Look, the Kentucky defense is for real, but here's the thing that everyone's forgetting is that Kentucky has just road graders up front on their offensive line. And I don't think that Tennessee should have fired their their D-line coach, because Kentucky makes everyone look like that every
Right.
week. It doesn't matter who they're playing. They can play Clemson. They're going to move the ball on the ground. That's what Kentucky does. Also, that Kentucky secondary, I think that's the biggest shocker that no one's talking about with Kentucky. That secondary is tried and true. That is a solid defense all around for Kentucky. They've got big guys up front to run the ball. They've got 3 backs, although they've had one injured here the past couple of weeks. They got 3 backs back there that can move the ball downfield, and they got a quarterback who can move his feet and he can throw it. He's not the most talented quarterback in the world, but he's talented enough to beat you. He's very talented enough to beat you. So I got a feeling that people still want to overlook Kentucky, and I don't understand that, because Stoops is making a great living in Lexington with people overlooking him.
Yes.
Kentucky is for real. I know they came out. They did not look good against Auburn. I got a feeling if Kentucky played Auburn 10 times, Kentucky would probably beat them 8. That's not a luxury that we have any year, especially in 2020. But Kentucky is for real. They are looking good. They're coming along, and they're only getting better. And that defense is getting stronger and stronger. So here's the thing with Kentucky. If they get a lead on you, you're in trouble. Even if it's a 3-point or a 7-point lead, you are in trouble, because Kentucky can hold that football all game long, and you're not going to move it much on that defense. It's just not happening.
I got you. Well, man, let me go ahead and pull this back down, and I'm going to pull you up full screen for a second, okay?
Sure. Looking at games this week, trying to find Kentucky, Kentucky's got Georgia. Something that I looked at my notes before the show is, Alabama beats teams 2 weeks in a row. Alabama's been known for that. Saban teams have been known for that. That not only does Bama beat you the week that you play them, usually you're so hurt and banged up the next week, it's hard for you to get back on track. Now, that Bama defense is not as physical or as mean or as tough or as aggressive or impressive as it's been in years past. That defense is not looking good at Alabama. Matter of fact, I think that defense is ranked 12th out of 14 teams in the SEC. Might be Saban's absolute worst defense ever. But with that being said, Kentucky facing Georgia, Georgia's pride might be hurt a little too much. Now, I'll say this again: if Kentucky gets up on Georgia, it could be an ugly day for the Bulldogs. It could be very ugly. Do I think that'll happen? You have to wait to the end of the show when we talk about the games. We talk about the games and make our predictions. But look out for Kentucky. Don't overlook those guys. Those guys are playing legit, and it's been very impressive. Another game, Florida and Missouri. Todd Grantham, we talked about this earlier this week on the show. Todd Grantham's defense is scaring me. That's not scaring me. Stephen, what in the world? What? Should we dial 911 for you? Oh, I can't. Hey, Stephen, we can't hear you. Are you there?
You woke me up.
What?
That boy knows what he's talking about. I put a spell on Nick Saban, that old grumpy guy, and I gave him the coronavirus.
Oh.
Yes, I gave him the coronavirus. And he is as tough as a mule in the summertime plowing in the fields. I'll tell you, he's so tough that now I have to tell you, at $11 million, I'd get healed too. Yes, I'd get over it real quick. And $11 million a year will make you kiss all kind of butt and win. It's a good thing Alabama has him. I put him there to coach because Alabama's not used to losing. No. And Coach O, I was the one who started the rumor of the Cookie Monster. That's because we like him. We really like Coach O. He's a nice guy. And the turtle, Stingray the turtle.
Yeah.
Who the turtle is?
Yeah.
Dan Mullen. You like him. Now, he couldn't get over the coronavirus. Not yet. But I'm gonna send him some healing potion. I'm working on it right now.
Well, you do that.
Yes, because I know you like him a lot.
Yes.
So, well, you woke me up. I had to throw myself together. I usually look a whole lot better than this. But, you know Halloween is coming up.
Yes.
Right?
All right. Well, thank you for that.
You going to throw me off now? I just got started.
Yeah.
I like to hear this other boy talk. He's good.
Yeah. It was just one of your cackles. All right. Well, I think we will segue that way, if you're okay with that, Heath, to asking.
You're just trying to get rid of me.
Yes.
Well, did you hear what I said though about the coronavirus?
I did. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll be back next week.
Just don't give it to me.
I'm not. I'll give it. I don't give it.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Hey, tell Hillary Clinton your sister bye.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that is a great segue into bringing in some of our guests for today. And if you would like to be a part of the Stingray Show, let me go ahead and pull both people back up. There we go. And if you guys would like to be a part of the show, you can send us in a DM and let you know we can ask our questions. So let me go on ahead and get to Sheila, who is been standing by. And we're going to bring her in here and see what her question is for us. Sheila, how's it going?
Hey, how are you guys?
We're doing fine, Sheila. Where are you coming from today?
Coming from Alabama, Tuscaloosa.
All right. What's your question?
I would like to know, do you all vote for both of you? Do you think it's time that Auburn got rid of Gus Malzahn?
Actually, I personally do. I think it's time that they move on. I think that they need to, get some fresh blood down there and some excitement, because if you watched the South Carolina game, they just didn't have the fire that they need down at Auburn. And I think it's time. I think that gimmicky offense is, I think it's outdated now. And I think it's time for Auburn to go on ahead and move on. Now, what do you think, Heath?
I'm not there yet. And I don't think the offense is too gimmicky. I think it still works. I think it's still successful. But they've got to find consistency.
Yes.
And that's where Gus has been flirting with trouble, is being inconsistent. Yep. And if he flirts this weekend with a bad loss on the road in Oxford, it's only going to get worse. Winning builds on wins, losing builds on losses. And once that ball starts rolling down either one of those hills, it's hard to stop it and turn it around. So yes. I'm not there yet with Gus, but I do think that we're starting to see a trend.
Okay. I got another question, if I can, please.
Yes, ma'am.
What do y'all think the best game gonna be this weekend in the SEC?
Oh, go for it, Stephen.
I'll let you start because I started the last one.
Okay. I'm really looking forward to that Kentucky-Georgia game. Also, LSU, South Carolina. I can't wait for that one.
Yes.
If South Carolina can make it happen 2 weeks in a row, it's a lot of people are going to be starting to talk about Mike Bobo getting head coaching jobs. Colin Hill, the quarterback there at South Carolina, starting to get a lot of love. Also, Shy Smith, the receiver at South Carolina. There's a lot of things starting to build. At the same time, we know LSU is LSU. LSU is extremely talented.
Yes.
But they're just not putting it together yet. But I will say this, once LSU puts it together, it's going to be bad news for everybody else for the rest of the season.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, I actually like the Auburn and Ole Miss game. I think that's going to be a really close game. And I tell you what, man, we've talked a lot about Auburn, but, Ole Miss is looking down the barrel of going 1-4 after an exciting, first win against Kentucky. Now it's starting to go sideways a little bit after the loss against Arkansas. So I think that game is going to be a really good game as well.
Okay. Well, I would like to say thank you guys for taking my questions and letting me be on this show, and I truly do enjoy watching it.
Hey, Sheila, I got one question for you before you leave us.
Okay.
What food you going to be eating tomorrow while you're watching football?
Wings.
There you go.
Wings.
Yes, ma'am. All
Thanks,
right.
Sheila.
You guys
Thank
have
you.
a wonderful day.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
too.
Thank you too. All right. Well, let's go on ahead and go to another friend of mine who is actually a Big 12 fan, and he is a graduate of Texas Tech University.
Dude, what's up?
So here is my friend Chris Wooden. Chris, how's it going, my friend?
It's going well. How are y'all doing this morning?
We doing good, Chris.
Well, that's good to hear. These are two tough acts to follow. All the energy is there, and then Sheila with the tough questions.
Right.
I'm not sure if my question's going to hit quite the same way, but I do have a couple for both of you.
Hit it.
Okay. So we were talking earlier, or y'all were talking earlier, especially about the SEC and the disparity of talent and seeing some surprising losses. How are coaches going to navigate the extended eligibility that NCAA is granting them for fall and winter sports? So football specifically, there's a bunch of schools that might have some seniors that get to stay an extra year. Is that
Yes.
going to help competitiveness or hurt it?
I think it is going to make the transfer portal explode and melt. I think there's going to be so many misses in recruiting for this 2020, 2021 class coming up. I think there's going to be so many misses, but yet at the same time, there's going to be so many more surprises. I think there's going to be 2- and 3-star guys that didn't get graded or hadn't been graded in a while, who are now 4 stars, maybe 5 stars, and they're just going to be diamonds in the rough. And so, with that being said, with guys staying for another year and some surprises, I think the transfer portal is just going to explode. And the NCAA is already talking about doing a waiver where you don't have to sit out a year. They're already talking about that, putting that in for football. So I think you're going to see a lot of things happen with that. The one thing I'm scared of with that is that, heaven forbid, let's take Alabama, for example. They're having problems on defense right now. Well, what if they start cherry picking defensive players from all the other teams that say, hey, once you get in the transfer portal, you don't have to sit out in redshirt anymore. That could just become, any team can do that. So now it's going to be very cutthroat. Not only will you be recruiting guys, you got to recruit the guys on your same roster to stay with you. So it's going to be crazy to see what happens. And I think that will also add to schools not firing coaches, because a new coach comes in, there's no relationship there and things like that. So I think it's going to be very slow to fire coaches in 2020. Yeah. But I think it's going to lead to some exciting offseason stories. I think it's going to be fruit basket turnover with rosters. Take Mike Leach at Mississippi State. Hey, I need some receivers here.
Yes.
If a new coach comes in, say if a new coach comes in at Auburn, like we were talking about last caller, who's to say that those wide receivers at Auburn are like, man, I'm out of here. I want to go play for Leach. He's going to throw the ball, 60 times a game. I need to get my draft stock up. It's just going to make things just go crazy. I think we've already started to see some of that already with some of the guys transferring here in the early going and entering the transfer portal. So I think it's going to make football very exciting. But there's going to be a lot of people that get hurt in this and heartbroken, especially if you got a very talented quarterback and, hey, we were a top 25 team. Well, yeah, but I'm leaving. I'm going to go to a top 5 team. I'm going to go to USC and play for Southern Cal. I mean, it could be crazy what happens.
Absolutely. And I agree with that too. And I think like you said, the transfer portal is going to explode, and that could really help teams that are on the lower tier, like maybe an Ole Miss or a Houston or teams like that. And especially like we had talked about earlier when you and I were talking, Chris, about the Kansas Jayhawks. I think that's really going to help them as well.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I do have one more question if y'all have time.
Yeah, what you got?
All right. This question comes from my friends at the Beer League 2.0 Fantasy Football Podcast. And with the return of NCAA football becoming more likely in the world of video games, do y'all ever see us moving to fantasy football for college football?
I'm in a fantasy football league just for SEC.
Oh, okay.
I've been in it for at least a dozen years now, and I'm the new guy in our league. They were around before I joined. So, with that being said, yeah, I think it will grow more and more. I do, but it's going to be interesting to see how the whole video game thing takes place. I used to be a big fan of NCAA. I haven't played it in years. I got too many responsibilities and kids. I had to sacrifice something. But I bet you I've played that game maybe once in the last decade.
Right.
But with that being said, I think it's going to be great for the younger generation. I mean, that's how I fell in love with so many of the rivalry games and things of those past video games. So, yeah, I think it'll help fantasy sports. I think it will help. I think video games of that nature help the fan bases and build what college football really is, and the pageantry and the passion and the history. And, like me and Stephen were talking about earlier in the show, 1933, chocolate chip cookies were invented the last time South Carolina won over Auburn. So, it's things like that. So, but yeah, that's my thought. Stephen, what's your take?
I agree with that. And man, I tell you what, I have really, really missed that video game. Because the last one that I played and bought was back in 2010. So I've really missed it. And I would really love for that to come back on all platforms. But honestly, I don't know how you could do it with the likeness issues. So that's going to be real interesting how it's going to moving forward.
Hey, can I get you to do an EA Sports for us for the beer league? The EA Sports is in the game. Give me one. Just give me one.
EA Sports, it's in the game.
Yeah, there we go.
I already hear the fight music in the background for every school. Right. So it'll be back soon enough. Well, thank you guys for the opportunity to come on the show. Avid watcher, so thank you again, and hope to speak to y'all soon.
Thank you.
And, next week.
Recom Tech, buddy.
Recom Tech always.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. All right, man. Well, that's awesome. That was a great little interview there. And by the way, what did you think about the witch?
Well, I was thinking oh man, Steven's having all kinds of technical problems today.
No.
I prepared some stuff to talk about when you went off air, but just in case that happened. But I was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to go through all my notes.
No. I planned that. So there was no technical issues on my end. Thank God. Thank the good Lord. So far today, there's been no issues. So what I think we will do is we will take one more viewer question, and then we will get into our interview with Cole Cubelic. So let me pull this guy up. How's it going?
What's going on, Stingray?
Hey, man, it's Spencer again. Oh, that's awesome, dude.
I'm back.
And I like that you said Coach O. That's pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Well, I had to find a way to get you to let me on, so I had to rename it.
Hey, dude, where are you headed? I mean, that's a pretty little background you got there.
Actually, I'm down here in Nashville. I'm outside the voting booth, actually. Not to bring up a sore subject or anything. It was a big night in Nashville last night.
Man.
I bet it was, yeah. With the debate, yeah. Yeah, they're on the campus of Belmont, right?
Yep.
We talked about
Belmont,
that the other day.
That's right. The Bruins, like you said the other day, that's right. Great. Well, I guess it would have been 2 years ago they went to the big dance and down in to the round of 64 in Jacksonville.
Yep. Well, man, what you got for us?
Man, so pardon me, I haven't been watching before, but can you give me a quick take on LSU, South Carolina? And I apologize if you've already covered it today.
We have not talked about it yet. That's the game upcoming. But honestly, with the status of Miles being out and not starting, that I think that's really going to hurt.
There you are, Spencer.
You still there?
I'm here.
Okay, good. I think that's going to hurt LSU. I really do. Now, how much it's going to hurt, I don't know. But anytime you lose your starting quarterback, even though he's kind of a newbie, it's going to hurt. And how much playing time has the backup had? So I think you're going to see problems. But could it be coming at a good time? Because South Carolina may actually have the big head after beating Auburn. I really don't know, but we'll just have to see on Saturday.
Great.
Yeah. I've been looking at it. South Carolina, they keep surprising me each and every week. So I don't know what to expect, but I keep waiting for LSU to put it all together. LSU has the talent. That's not the question. They have the talent. It just hasn't come together yet for them. That's a very young team, as we all know. They lost everything from last year. So they're trying to figure things out. So once LSU gets it, they're going to take off. When are they going to get it? I don't know. But when they do, it's going to be bad news for everybody. Bobo is calling some great plays for Colin Hill, quarterback at South Carolina. I talked about Shaw Smith earlier in the show. He's making things happen as well. So South Carolina has a chance in this. They do. Coach Boom is always going to have a defense ready most of the time. His defense usually carries them in games. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I got a feeling there's going to be a lot of pressure on the quarterback. And LSU knows coming into the game that South Carolina knows coming into the game that LSU is going to try to keep it on the ground and protect that quarterback from passing situations. So Coach Boom is going to prepare for that. But I guarantee you when it comes to passing downs, they're going to be bringing the house every time. So it's going to be a fun game to watch. I can't wait to watch that one tomorrow.
Great. Yeah, it worries me. Missouri beat LSU like that with 8 or 9 players out for COVID. That's just disturbing. But, who knows what Missouri will turn into. So,
Spencer, here's the real question, man. And I asked this earlier to Sheila. What are you eating tomorrow during the games? While you're sitting on your couch, hanging with everybody, or if you're going somewhere, what are you eating tomorrow?
Oh, what is tomorrow? Let's see. That's a good question. I got some leftover Domino's in the pizza in the refrigerator. That's probably the most likely option.
And by the way, I do want to just mention this, just simply because Spencer is my friend. He is a pilot, so things have definitely been wild on that end.
Yeah. So that means I work about every 8 or 9 days.
Yes. So, but man, I bet you're ready for this pandemic to be over, aren't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like everybody else.
Yes.
We'll see how it. I'm tired of wearing these things right here.
Yes, I know. Well, I do have another question for you. Since you are there in Nashville, what is the talk of people around the program at Vanderbilt, especially with them being winless right now? Are people kind of getting really upset with Coach Mason or not?
Well, Stingray, this isn't a typical SEC town. I think 90-something% of the Vanderbilt grads don't live here, but sometimes you spend a month here and you forget there's an SEC school in town. But I'm not as in tune with that as much as I thought as I should be. I know. Remember when I guess it was last year LSU played here. The stadium was like 80-something% purple and gold. They drank all the beer before halftime.
Yes.
But I don't know where all the Vanderbilt grads live. I think they're out in the Hamptons or Hilton Head or places like that. But no, there's a good following here, especially for basketball games and of course the big into the baseball program.
Definitely.
You just don't hear much during football season here unless you're got your ear to the ground. But
yes,
spring comes around and it's like all of a sudden that corner there off the football field where the diamond is comes alive.
Absolutely. Well, Spencer, do you have anything else that you would like to add?
I'm good, man. I'm sitting here outside the voting booth and I'm fixing to go in and call it a day. So thanks for I didn't think I was going to get on today. I thought I passed my allotted time. I'm sure you got your phone ringing off the hook.
I do.
You probably got people ready to buzz in, so I'll let you go.
All right, man. Well, you take care, okay? And go Tigers.
Go Tigers. Thanks, Heath.
All right.
See you, Spencer.
See ya.
All right, man. Well, are you ready to get to our special guest for the day?
Absolutely, my friend.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, you actually called this guy the hardest working man in college football.
He is, I've heard Cole on the radio being a guest on other shows. You look up, he's on SEC Network, on SEC Now, talking. During the games, Dave Neal is ribbing him about some kind of bacon breakfast over something that's been a running joke this season on the sidelines. So, he has his own show, the 3-Man Front, there on WJOX in Birmingham. You see him on the sidelines on ESPN and SEC Network. You see him on other SEC Network shows. You hear him on radios all over the Southeast, and he is, in my opinion, the hardest working man in the Southeastern Conference. So let's go on and bring on our interview with Cole.
Absolutely, and I had to do a few things on my phone, so that's why I put it up full screen for you. But I think, like we've always talked about, I'm sorry, Heath. I'm losing my train of thought, dude. I'm sorry. Honesty is always the best policy. Okay, so just like we did with Coach Freeze, we were not able to get Cole Cubelic on live. However, we were able to meet with Cole and pre-record, so that is why our attire is going to be different. So what we will do is we will go on ahead and play the interview that Heath and I did with Mr. Cole Cubelic, and then we will be back here live in about 30 minutes. Here it is. Without further ado, here is our interview with Cole Cubelic. All right, Heath, are you ready to bring in our very special guest on the Stingray Show today?
I'd love to get ready to talk to Cole. I'm ready for this.
Yes, we're actually going to be talking with a Auburn legend. So let me go ahead and bring him in here right now. And Cole, how's it going, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
I'm
We're
doing
wonderful, Cole.
And we've actually been playing tag with one another, hoping that we could get you on, and we finally have you on. So welcome to the show.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me. It's things are a little hectic right now, so just trying to survive in advance, like the NCAA tournament over here. So
Understand. Hey, Cole, before we get going, I wanted to ask you a fun question. Are you going to make any political speech for Coach Tuberville?
No. I love Tommy. Tommy was great to me when he was my coach. He was a player's coach. He was a lot of fun. I still keep in touch with him. We still talk every now and then, but that's not my realm to discuss publicly. It's I'll keep that on the back burner. But I wish him nothing but the best. I think it's cool that he's having success in the field that he chooses. And we didn't talk about that kind of stuff when I played. He wasn't very outspoken about that. So it's interesting to see how the different paths that we take later in life.
Hey, can you share one story with us back during your playing days? Any story with Coach Tuberville, on or off the field, during a game, anything?
Like I said, Tubbs was great to me. Things didn't start out the way that I wanted them to my senior year, but he really kind of stuck by me and supported me and was kind of there for me, believed in me. But I'll never forget, we were going into two-a-days, and the previous year it was his first year, and they just ran us into the ground. I mean, it's one of those, we got to get guys out of here, and we got to do things our way or the highway. And that was, the program kind of needed that. You understand it now. But we go into the second one, and he says, all right, I know what happened last year. It was tough. He says, this is what I'm going to do. We're going to go 2 two-a-days and a 1-a-day, 2 two-a-days and a 1-a-day. Back then, you could go a week or two of 2-a-days, and
right.
People didn't think anything about it. You didn't usually do that, but you could have. And so we're thinking, man, this is going to be unbelievable. This won't even be hard. This is like nothing we've ever experienced. We were all on cloud 9. And 14 consecutive 2-a-days later, we ended fall practice and started to prepare for the season. We were just kind of like, what the hell happened to the every other day 2-a-days, man? Like that didn't work out the way you told us it would. So maybe he was a politician even back then, and we just didn't know it yet. So
he wasn't keeping his promises then, huh?
Exactly.
Go on, Stephen.
Okay. Cole, let's go in and talk some X's and O's right now. Tell me what your thoughts are on America's team right now. That has to be the Arkansas Razorbacks. I mean, did you actually see Sam Pittman taking them as far as he has so far in 2020?
And when I talked about Arkansas before the year, Stingray, I kind of – they were a team that I thought would exceed expectations,
Right.
Not to this level, and not be able to win games the way that they have. People are going to begin to learn that Kendall Briles is one of the best play callers in college football. I've known Barry Odom for a while. I covered him when he was head coach at Missouri, and I think the world of him. I think the world of Sam Pittman first and foremost. And I knew Sam's just a ball coach, man. Like he's just a guy that knows. He knows football, and he's been around. And he understands. He's been at Arkansas before, so he knows the landscape, and he knows what it's all about. And you take an SEC quarterback with experience in Felipe Franks, a very young, talented group of receivers. Now, I thought Rakeem Boyd would have to be a guy that they would really ride this entire season. He hasn't necessarily been 100% for them to be able to do that, but they found another back that's been able to help them out. It's been cool to watch. It's been really fun to watch. I think when I watch that team, the biggest difference that I see is the intensity that the offensive line and defensive line play with. Because there's not a ton of NFL guys in the trenches for them on either side of the football, but they just have guys playing hard. They believe in what they're doing. They're not overcomplicating things. They're allowing them to be in position to make plays, and they're getting great effort. So I thought that they would grab a few games this year and surprise folks and maybe go past people's expectations, but not be in the game at halftime with Georgia and not be toe-to-toe with really every other team that they've played and be able to get some of the wins that they've gotten.
Cole, I think you might have just answered my question, but who's been the biggest shock in the SEC East and the SEC West so far this season?
SEC East, I would probably say Tennessee. I expected Tennessee to sort of continue to take that next step, continue to sort of build on the momentum that they had coming into the season with that winning streak. I thought Kentucky was going to be a really good football team. I think I had them third in the East coming in, so I actually expected a little bit more. But, I mean, they've been in every game that they've played, so I don't think you really look at that and say that they've let anybody down, so to speak. It's hard not to say Arkansas in the West because they've been so competitive, and just the way that they've played has been really cool to watch. But I might go LSU at 1 and 2. I didn't think there would be a severe drop-off. I knew there would be a drop-off, but I didn't think it would be severe. And obviously they missed the game, so we don't know exactly how that thing would have played out.
Right.
And then they just they kind of ran into a buzzsaw with Mississippi State. We've seen how that thing's played out. But I expected them to still be able to run the ball. I expected them to still play good defense, and we just haven't seen that. They still have talent on that football team. I mean, Jabril Cox can play at linebacker. They have one of the best edge defenders in the SEC. Jacoby Stevens is going to be a first-round pick. Stingley's going to be a first-round pick. They got guys. And so I think to have the kind of drop-off that they've had, not just losing the games they have, but the way that they have. I mean, you go to Missouri, all you got to do is run some 4-minute offense, get the clock down to triple zeros, and you're out of there with a win, and you can't hold on. And that doesn't feel like LSU football. And the defense just not being able to communicate, seemingly being lost, is not something we expect from an Ed Orgeron coach football team.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to the hot seat, and I'm not saying Ed Orgeron's on the hot seat at all, but what SEC coach or coaches you think might be starting to trend toward the hot seat here in 2020?
It's such a difficult question because with this pandemic and with the gigantic shortfalls that most of these athletic departments are going to see, it's hard to really gauge if anybody's going to be on their way out. And,
right.
You look at the buyout that is attached to some of the coaches that people bring up almost on an annual basis. And if things don't begin to go their way or continue to go the way that they are they going to have somebody even be able to step up and write that kind of a check, or 2-3 people write that check? I think it's going to be more difficult than people realize. So I kind of went into this season thinking, you know what, I just don't see it unless something off the field happens, or unless there's some sort of a confrontation. But if you're just talking wins and losses, I feel like pretty much everybody was safe. Now, there are always schools that have deep pockets that can go to 1-2 guys and be able to make that happen. But I just don't see many guys really being on that hot seat this year. I don't. I think when you look at players that have opted out, what they're having to go through to actually just get games in, the roster management that's taking place, guys that are able to practice, not able to practice, able to play, not able to play. You don't know what your depth chart's going to look like on a weekly basis. It's just asking a lot for these coaches to just be organized to the point to go field a team and play good football. So for me, I think everybody's probably safe. There could be something that gets out of whack, but not yet. I don't see it really. I don't see anybody kind of stepping on to the hot coals just yet, so to speak.
Well, obviously not last Saturday, but the previous Saturday, you watched Mississippi State and Kentucky up close. In your opinion, what do you think is wrong with the Bulldogs right now?
Well, I think two things. I'll start with defense and say that I think Zach Arnett's doing an excellent job. It's a group that shows you a lot of different looks. They line up different ways. They attack you in different ways, a lot of movement. They're very aggressive. And I feel like they kind of needed to be that style football team to be able to win on that side of the ball. Offensively, for me, it's pretty simple. You have two issues. One, you have a quarterback that's coming into a new system that's not seeing the field the way that he needs to see the field in a new offense. It's not easy to go from a pro style to the air raid and visually just make that transition and make it easy. But the most important problem is the offensive line. And I thought they had a great game week one. They got beat a few times, but when you run 80-something plays, they're all pass plays, and guys can tee off, and you're getting these different exotic pressures. It's going to happen. You're going to get got a few times. But that thing has continued to nosedive throughout the course of the season. Until this group can learn how to block 3 with 5, I don't know if things are going to change. I really don't. Now, this past weekend against A&M, Coach Elko did bring more than 3 more times than the previous 2 teams has via Kentucky and Arkansas, but there were still some 3-man rushes that were able to get to the quarterback, and that's just unacceptable. If it were me, I'd cut the splits down. I would simplify the technique and the fundamentals. I would simplify the protections and try to find a way to help that group. I don't know if there have been enough adjustments to help that offensive line. And it also, you bench your center after a few games. You lose your best offensive lineman in Greg Island, and he comes back, and then he's got to kick from left guard to right tackle. So that kind of stuff doesn't help either.
Right.
And, that's a group that I think you're probably really seeing not having spring ball and not having a super physical fall practice work against them right now. So quarterback's vision, offensive line play, those are the reasons that things are not going on that side of the ball. Following
up on that, do you think if the offensive line, if those 5 linemen figure out how to block 3, do you think there's massive improvement? Do you see it shooting up, or do you see it still being a struggle due to the quarterback situation?
No, it can. It all comes – this is an offense that's based on patience.
Right.
And it's the ultimate chess match of patience. And if you sit there and dink and dunk and take the easy throws and throw underneath and check down to the back and just wear defenses down with that, it's not going to be explosive.
Right.
All of a sudden that defense is going to get greedy, and they're going to lose their patience, and they're going to come up and play you in a different way. When that happens, you take your shots. You can't force your shots in that offense, mainly because of how people are usually going to play you.
Right.
But I still think KJ Costello has the talent to be able to do it. I think he has the intelligence to be able to do it. It's just, you can be the smartest guy in the room. It doesn't mean you're going to see things the way you need to see things.
Yeah.
That's in a lot of sports. That's hitting a baseball. That's court vision in basketball, making passes or shooting in different arenas. That's on the football field, be a linebacker knowing where the ball is, being able to read your keys, or a quarterback knowing what coverage is or where a receiver is going to go. So visually, you have to understand what the offense is asking of you. And I just think KJ's a little behind that right now. It can absolutely change. And either way, this was going to take time. It's just unfortunate that you got that explosive performance you did in week 1, and that set the expectations maybe to an unrealistic place.
Yes.
True or false question for you, Cole. Are you the hardest working man in SEC media?
I have no idea. I mean, I try to be. I'll say that. I enjoy what I do. I don't feel like I've worked a day in the last 6 or 7 years. It's fun. I'm fortunate. I feel beyond blessed to be able to be at these stadiums this year, beyond the sideline, actually attending games in person. It's hard to say that because I don't feel like it's work. I mean, I have 3 kids, so I can't watch near as much film as I did,
right.
5 or 6 years ago. But I still try to get as much in as I can, and it doesn't feel like work. So it's not hard. It's time consuming because you have to actually sit down and go through it and know what you want to see. But it's something that I enjoy, and it's something that I love, and I'm passionate about, and I really try to live it. I don't clock in and clock out. I mean,
right.
I'll go. We'll be getting ready for dinner. I'll pull my iPad out and I'll try to watch a couple series of one team's offense or one team's defense just to try to get it in real quick. So I would have to know exactly what everybody else was doing to be able to answer that question, and I don't. But I mean, listen, I know Jordan Rogers puts in a ton of work. I know Tom Hart puts in a ton of work. I know Stinchcomb and Shockley and Doring. All those guys are hard workers. Chiswick's a hard worker. It's not. We got a lot of good people with the SEC network. McElroy works his rear end off. He is one of the most well-versed college football voices that there is. So I don't even feel like I would have to own that title to be happy and accept the work that I put in, because I know what those other guys also put in.
No, when Stephen and I were talking about guests and your name came up, I was like, that guy's the hardest working man. He's got his radio show. You see him on the SEC network. I mean, everywhere I look, you're there. So I just had a feeling you are the hardest working man. You don't have to say true, but I think it is.
Well, I appreciate that. I take that as a massive compliment. So thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Which game are y'all covering this weekend, you and Jordan?
I will be in Oxford this weekend.
Okay.
Auburn at Ole Miss, 11 a.m. Central, SEC Network. Tom and Jordan will be at their homes.
I got you.
But I'll be on site. So, yeah, we're excited about that one. It's a very interesting game. And
what are your thoughts on that game?
I think both teams really need it. There's obviously a lot of excitement with what Coach Kiffin is doing, and a lot of people are happy with what they've seen. But at the same time, you don't want to get to 1-4.
I know.
No matter how good people feel about you, that's not a place you want to go. And then I think you look at the Auburn schedule. You knew it was going to be tough, but to go below 500 and still have teams like Texas A&M, LSU, Alabama on your schedule, that's not a place that you want to live either. And I think that they're now, there's now the whispers and some chatter beginning about the Auburn locker room and leadership and things of that nature. So a loss, no matter how it looked to Ole Miss, would only increase the volume on that kind of nonsense, no matter what people actually knew or not. So I think it's one that both teams need. I think Bo Nix needs some confidence. I think Matt Corral needs a bounce back game after the turnovers that he had last week. And obviously for Lane Kiffin, it would be a massive win. And I think for Gus Malzahn to continue to sort of right the ship for this season, get back on track, it's a big one for him as well.
Talking about your playing days, I know we talked about that earlier. Was there ever a coach or someone that you just really wish you had a chance to play for?
The first guy that comes to mind is Pete Jenkins. And Pete Jenkins was the defensive line coach for a little while when I was at Auburn. And I got to know him over the years, being in media. He's at LSU when I was covering the SEC for a little while. And we just kind of developed a friendship. And he's someone who I was actually always jealous of watching the guys that played for him be able to play for him. The way he coached them, you could tell he cared about them. He was hard on them, but you knew he wanted them to be great. And I I mean, I think anybody on that field, whether it was DB, O-line, quarterback, receiver, they would have all tell you that it'd been cool to play for Pete. And anybody, I mean, ask Ed Orgeron about him. I mean, Ed Orgeron will tell you when he got the LSU job, Pete was the first person he hired. When he got the interim job at SC, that was the first person he hired and brought on.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even for his defensive line prowess. It was just for his overall knowledge. He wanted him as a sounding board to be able to discuss things with. So he's probably a guy that I would have loved to have played for in my college career.
I've got a 2-part final question for you. One, give us your thoughts, please, on the Alabama-Tennessee matchup. And the other one is, do you see anybody stopping the Tide until they get to Atlanta?
I don't see anybody. I mean, are there playoff games in Atlanta this year? Because those would have to be the ones
right
that I think somebody might be able to stop them. Where can Tennessee make this game interesting? I think Tennessee's offensive line can have some success. They haven't necessarily lived up to the expectation that I have for them just yet. That doesn't mean they've been bad. But I think when you got guys like Trey Smith and Cade Mays and Brandon Kennedy, I don't know if Wanye Morris will be healthy first game. He went out versus Kentucky. But those guys are big and physical. And they have a group of tailbacks that really do a nice job pressing the line of scrimmage, finishing north and south with their shoulders square. They run hard. Tennessee's backs really do run hard. And I think that could be a portion of the game that they control, maybe minimize some possessions, maybe work some clock, maybe win some field position. The concern is defensively because you got Bryce Thompson playing corner. He should probably be at safety. You had one of your starting corners that was out for Tennessee last week. It's not a great secondary as it is right now, and they might be a little bit dinged up. So you just wonder, DeAndre Johnson's a guy that can create pressure, but there's not a lot of other guys that can win one-on-ones up front. So are you going to have to overcommit? Are you going to have to blitz? I'm personally waiting for somebody to sort of sit back in maybe a 2 or 3 safety look and play them deep and just say, you know what, you're not getting over the top on us. You're not. You might run for 350. Najee Harris might have a career day, but we are going to make you work your way down the field. I think that's what Arkansas did to Ole Miss last week. They said, we're not going to let you beat us deep, and we feel like if we make you work, more chances for you to make a mistake and us to capitalize on it. Doesn't mean you'll beat Alabama, but you might be able to be a little bit more competitive with them if that was the road that you took. Down the road, I think Alabama and Clemson are very close right now. I don't think there's really a big gap. You can pick and choose what you like and don't like, and I still think Clemson has a slight edge at quarterback. Alabama has a better offensive line. Alabama has a better group of receivers. Clemson's defense is playing better. I don't know if that means they're more talented, but I think they're playing better football right now. Running back, probably a push. Travis Etienne, super explosive. Najee's running crazy good right now. So I think those two teams are essentially neck and neck. You could flip a coin, and I could probably convince you one had a slight edge over the other. I'm anxious to see what Ohio State looks like. Big physical offensive line. I'm worried about what they lost in the front seven. Great quarterback. Obviously, you got skilled guys all over the place. So they could be in that stratosphere with Alabama and Clemson, but I don't think there's anybody else. And I think probably Minnesota and Penn State are the only two teams that will even be scary for Ohio State in that conference. I don't even know what happens if an Oregon or a USC goes undefeated and sits there at 6-0, 7-0 after the conference championship game. How do you look at that resume? Is it enough? Are people frowning on the amount of games? What's the record of the other teams? Because I kind of look at the Big 12 right now. I think the Big 12 is essentially eliminated from the playoffs.
Yes.
Obviously, Oklahoma State's undefeated, but I don't know if there's going to be enough quality wins on the schedule for them to really get in. Now, that depends on some of the other teams, but is it going to be Georgia? Can we Texas A&M? Can we North Carolina? Can Miami bounce back from a loss to Clemson? Could it be a Penn State and Minnesota after an Ohio State? Who knows? But everything's going to be judged in a different way this year because you have to look at guys that were available, when and where, and how much guys could practice. I think you have to look at not only the schedule and the resume, but now you're going to have to weigh games with a 4 or 5 game differential in the schedule and the resume. That's how do you do that? I mean, 1 or 2, yeah, but 3, 4, 5, that's very different, and it's going to be odd. But I would say maybe Ohio State, and Clemson's the only other team that I've seen that's even really close, to be honest.
Cole, you're going to Oxford this weekend. Do you need any dining suggestions? I'm about 40 minutes away from Oxford.
No. We got them all. We've hit them all. Thankfully, Kyle Campbell does a great job every time we go over there of taking us to one of the hot spots on Friday night and treating all the TV crew to an excellent meal. John Currents always takes great care of me when we're over there. So I'm just trying not to come back 15 pounds heavier. That's my goal. And it's not going to be one that's likely to happen. So if you see me moving slow Saturday morning, you know why.
I do have one final question, though. I just thought of one, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Who do you ultimately see winning the East? Because, we've talked a lot about the teams in the West. Who do you ultimately see making it to Atlanta out of the East?
Stingray, if it wasn't for this COVID situation with Florida right now, I would tell you that I really do believe Florida can still win the East. However, you essentially are going to have another opener when you play again.
Yep.
Because I think that there's a really good chance, based on the news we heard today, and again, I don't know this. This is not inside information, but just I think you have to look at the fact that they're pausing activities until Monday, which I'm not one of these guys that when somebody says they're pausing activities thinks that all of a sudden the world's going to end and, that we should all just go crawl into a hole and never come out again. However, it's alarming in the middle of a season to hear that. And I think you have to sit back and say they might not play Missouri on Halloween.
Right.
And if that happens, you're talking about a month in between games.
Yeah.
So now when you go play Georgia, that's basically your first game all over again. Mm-hmm. And their first game offensively looked great against Ole Miss, but that'll be a different style defense, a different style team. And I would think that thing is going to be pretty tough. They're still going to have to play LSU at some point in time. Kentucky's going to be tough. And obviously you got to get Georgia. I mean, and even Arkansas is, playing inspired football. So right now, I would still say I would say Georgia, but if it wasn't for this COVID situation with Florida down in Gainesville, I would have told you that I think because I picked Florida at the beginning of the season. I think their offense is that good, and I also think they have too much talent on defense to not win a game on that side of the ball at some point in time. They might not do it every week. They're not going to do it every week. They can't tackle well enough to do it every week, but they have athletic ability, speed, twitch, get off, and just playmakers that are going to show up at some point in time. So I'll say Georgia, but I'll asterisk that with, if it wasn't for this COVID deal, I would still say that I think Florida wins the East.
Okay. My parting question would be this. Studying your game notes for this week, any interesting stat or something that stood out to you that you're looking forward to seeing this weekend?
I think if you look at Bo Nix's numbers on the road, and I've got it written down. I can pull it up for you because I've got it in my notes. I mean, I was kind of shocked that it's as different as it is. I think also when you just look at Auburn under Gus Malzahn on the road, they have not been a team that's been very good. It's kind of scary to think about that, especially when you think about the teams that you're going to play. I mean, Bo Nix is 8-1 on the road. He's 3-5 on the road or at home. 3-5 on the road or neutral site, 10 touchdowns, no interceptions at home, 62%. He's got 10 touchdowns to 10 picks on the road. He's completing 51% of his passes. So that just, it's going to be a little bit different. That's way different. And you just, I understand. I mean, listen, he played at maybe the greatest football team we've ever seen assembled last year in LSU. He played against a Florida team that at the end of the year I thought should have been in the playoff at the end of the season. Played Oregon on a neutral site, the team that won the Pac-12 last year. So it's not like he's playing nobodies, but it's just you don't expect it to be that different. And then going and playing a great Georgia defense this year. So Yeah, the competition and the teams and the venues had something to do with it, but still, that's pretty lopsided and was pretty surprising when I came across it.
That's why you're the hardest working man in SEC media, brother.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Cole, and we will look for you on at Ole Miss this weekend. So thank you for your time. And is there anything that you would like to plug or tell our viewers how they can find you?
JocksFM.com, 10 to 2 weekdays, 3-man front on WJOX, and at Cole Cubelic on Twitter, at Cole Cubelic Instagram. That's where all my social stuff is. So, and like you said, SEC Network, 11 a.m. Saturday morning. We'll be on the call for Auburn at Ole Miss.
Wonderful, man. Well, thank you so much for your time, and hopefully we can do it again soon.
I look forward to it. I appreciate you guys having me. Have a good night.
Right. Thank you. You too.
Thank you, Cole.
Well, that was Cole Cubelic once again. We're welcome back into the Stingray Show, and that was a really good interview, I thought. And let me go ahead and bring up both of us. And we really, really, really want to thank Cole for taking time out of his busy schedule to come and talk with us.
Yeah, I'm sure he's probably already arrived in Oxford. He might be eating lunch at Taylor Grocery. Who knows right now? But maybe Ajax on the square. But Cole was very gracious to join us, and I appreciate it. And Cole is a huge wealth of knowledge of what's going on in the SEC, and he's in tune to everything that's going on, from coaches and players to athletic directors and schemes on and off the field, X's and O's, whatever it is. Cole's in tune to it. And
yes,
very grateful for the interview and look forward to having him back on.
Yes, and we want to thank all of the previous previous guests as well. You know, like Hugh Freeze, Brandon Marcello, which we need to check in with him a little bit later on in the season. We've had Peter Burns on, head coach Hugh Freeze, just to name a few. So we really want to thank everybody that have taken their time out of their busy schedule to come join us on this show.
Yeah. And hopefully we'll get some more entertaining and guests and some fun names to bring on. And, hey, send your questions in so we can ask them as well.
Answer them.
Right.
You said ask them. Answer them.
Oh. Same, right? No.
Yeah. All right. Are you ready to continue with a few more games from last week, and then we will go to our picks?
Yeah.
You actually went to this football game last week. Man, what are your thoughts on the Aggies right now?
Aggies are building. They're not there yet, but they're getting there. Excuse me. Yeah, here we go. Late night last night.
Yeah.
No, the Aggie defense didn't really show much last week. It was pretty bland. But it could afford to be bland because they were getting so much pressure with 3 defensive linemen.
Yes.
So that Aggie offense has got to figure some things out. They got to a huge shootout with Florida and won it. Last week they struggled against Mississippi State, but they were able to pull it out. Mississippi State gifted, I can't remember how many turnovers. But with that being said, A&M, they're building. That's a team that you can't ignore. They're getting better each and every week, and they're finding different ways to win each week. That's what makes A&M dangerous. They're finding different ways to win each and every week. So A&M is a team, some teams are like, oh, this team's all offense, and they can just beat you. Oh, this team's all defense. That's how they beat you. A&M, they can find a way to beat you in all phases of the game. They blocked a kick last week. They had an interception in the end zone. As you see the highlights right there, they had a scoop and almost a score.
Yep.
A&M's defense is very I don't want to put them great, but they're good and trending toward great. It's a team that's building in all aspects. They're good on offense. They're good on special teams. They're good on defense, and they're working toward being great in all 3 of those phases. So if they put it together, it could be lights out.
Absolutely. And I'm going to have to cover you up for a second to put this graphic up because it goes all the way across. So I apologize in advance for that, Heath. But this was ended a 3-game losing streak in Starkville for the Aggies. Their previous win was back in 2012 when, of course, they had this guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So that was a pretty good win for the Aggies. And as you saw there on the last frame of that video, Mike Leach looked like he wanted to crawl underneath a rock after the end of that football game.
The greatest line in the press conference after the game, and the most truthful line, was Mike Leach afterwards. I believe it was Tyler Horka, I believe, asked the question. I could be wrong on that one, but the question was asked in the post-game press conference, is this your absolute worst offense that you've ever had?
Yes.
And Leach answered it with a simple one-word answer, yes. So, this is Leach's 20th year as a head coach. He's been doing this for 30 years. And this is his worst offense in his 30 years of coaching.
Right.
Yikes. I bet that's a little extreme. So there's so many things going wrong. There's chemistry problems going wrong. Running backs are picking up the wrong guys to block in the backfield. Receivers aren't running the right routes. Linemen are not blocking at all. We talked about 3 defensive linemen are getting through with 5 guys blocking.
Yep.
You would always think that 5 would beat 3, and it's not happening. So nothing on that offense is clicking just yet. Will the air raid work in the SEC? Absolutely, it will work, and it can work at a very high standard. But if you don't block anybody, you don't run the right routes, you don't block the right guy, it's going to be a long day.
Yes. All right. Well, let me go on ahead. Let's just go on ahead and run through some of these real quick because I know we're getting pretty lengthy in the show. But let me go on ahead and show this. And you were talking about this game last week because it's pretty close to you. And actually, they finally got through and got the B off of their back. They finally knocked off Central Florida. That is the Memphis Tigers. And they were down in this game quite a bit, fought all the way back and knocked off the Central Florida Knights by 1 point, 50-49. And let me just go on ahead real quick and pop up this graphic. This was the first win for Memphis against Central Florida since 1990. Man, that is finally a great story to get that B off of their back for the Tigers.
Oh, Tigers, Tigers. Hey, you want to know something fun? I was at that 1990 game.
Yes.
Mid-South Fair was going on, and I can't remember what tickets were, but it was something ridiculous, like $2 or $5 to go to that game. And the Mid-South Fair, which used to be an enormous deal, it's jam-packed out every year. And we went to that game, and there was nobody there.
Right.
I remember we parked several miles from the stadium and walked, and just thinking that place would be packed out. And it was funny because I forgot how many tickets were sold to the game, but people would come to the game, and it's like, oh, let's run off to the fair. So, but I remember that was actually a good game in 1990.
Yes.
But the Tigers last week, Central Florida had a missed field goal there at the end of the game. They had a missed extra point. The kicker left 4 points on the board, and the Tigers win by 1.
Yes.
So that's a crazy thing. And, I'll say this. I'm not one to blame officials on games, but it is clear that the American Conference in years past protected Central Florida while their fans were claiming outrageous national championships. The Tigers had beaten Central Florida a couple of times, and then these made-up holding calls and everything else were going against the Tigers. It was absolutely ridiculous. But I understand. Every conference does this. We've seen it in the SEC a million times, Alabama.
Yes.
We've seen it over and over and over. Matter of fact, we saw it last weekend in a game with Georgia and Alabama. So but the Tigers they broke on through to the other side. Doors, cue the Doors music. Do we have any budget money to play the Doors?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to get in trouble because we're already using highlights. So,
but no, it was fun to see the Tigers pull through on that. And gosh, 1990. I think I was a freshman in high school that year.
Wow,
it's been a while. Yeah.
All right, let's move on real quickly to the next game, and this one is actually the first win for Norvell down at Florida State, and man, did they need this win. My goodness.
Yeah, Norvell left University of Memphis to take the job at Florida State, and I was thinking he picked the wrong job to take.
Yes.
He turned down Arkansas. He turned down some other jobs. He was a hot candidate for Ole Miss, but he took the Florida State job because of the recruiting.
Yes.
And he got down there and found out he didn't have any players.
Right.
That's crazy to think of that. Florida State does not have any players. That's just crazy to think that. It was just a couple of years ago when Bobby Bowden was still there that Florida State could recruit, women's field hockey players, and every writer in America would have written how Bobby Bowden's changing the game, and they would have given them all those girls 4 and 5 stars.
Right.
It didn't matter who Florida State recruited; they were going to be highly, highly ranked and given. So to see that there's no talent in Tallahassee, that's just scary.
Right.
That being said, there was a culture problem down there in Tallahassee, and I think Norvell's addressing that.
Yes.
And I think that's led to entitlement and the lack of talent. So, but hey, chop on Seminoles. Did not see that happening. Did not see North Carolina falling. Especially Mac Brown. Mac Brown doesn't lose games like this.
Yes.
And he did. So, and I think Norvell is one heck of a ball coach. So, Norvell will get things turned around there at Florida State. Mac Brown's already got things going in the right direction for North Carolina. But, that was a shocker, brother.
Absolutely. And that was the Florida State's first win against a top 10 team since December the 30th, 2016 in the Orange Bowl versus Michigan. So that is a really long time ago. And there you can see Norvell being dashed with the Gatorade. And actually, if you look at this, Florida State jumped out to a 24-0 lead in this game. And at that point, it was just completely over, as you saw there in the first of the highlights. So they jumped out to 24-0. And then, of course, North Carolina tried to make a comeback. And on the last drive for North Carolina to go down to try to get in the field goal range, they had 3 dropped passes on 3 consecutive plays that ultimately won the game for Florida State.
Man, you talk about that Memphis Central Florida game and missing extra points and field goals and 3 drop passes on 1 possession.
Yes.
That just, man, that hurts. That hurts. It's tough to see it, man. But hey, props to Florida State.
All right. Are you ready to get to one more game before we go into this week's picks?
Yeah, let's do it, dude.
I didn't know if you had any time constraints or not today.
Not today, brother.
All right. So this was pretty much the game of the week last week. This was a big-time showdown, and unfortunately, it did not live up to the hype. Towards the end of the football game, we're talking about Alabama and Georgia. And first 2 plays of the game, offensive possessions, you had Alabama get, Georgia get pressure on Mac Jones. He throws a pick. And then you turn back around on the next series for Georgia, and there you go with Stetson Bennett throwing an interception to a lineman there for Alabama. So there were nerves early in this football game, and then everybody kind of settled down and got things rolling. And then there was a controversial call that we will talk about here in just a second that ultimately turned the game, I think.
Yeah. Some Georgia fans have been tough on Stetson Bennett. And Georgia fans, I enjoy their passion. I enjoy their love of the Bulldogs. But you fired Mark Richt because his name wasn't Nick Saban.
Right.
And you bring in a guy who is performing less than Mark Richt. They're performing about the same, but it's less than Mark Richt. And, Mark Richt didn't have terrible home losses, and Kirby Smart's had a couple, like South Carolina last year. If I'm not mistaken, South Carolina was winless last year coming into that game.
Look at the screen right now. Kirby's first 4 years are 44-13. Mark Richt's first 4, 42-10, and those are updated numbers.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to think about. It's absolutely crazy. I just.
And look, we're not hating on Georgia at all. We don't hate on any football teams, but we just call it like we see it, don't we?
Yeah, yeah, and I thought Georgia was wrong for running Mark Richt out, and and I've heard all the excuse from Georgia fans that he wasn't going to get it done. And I'm like, get what done? He's winning 10 games a year.
Yeah,
and coaches don't stay forever, and and when Kirby took him to the national championship, I was thinking, maybe I was wrong on this. Maybe it was time to move on from Mark Richt, and Rick was struggling there trying to rebuild Miami. But without all that being said, man, it's absolutely just crazy to think about. And hey, Georgia, I'm gonna tell you a secret. There's only one Nick Saban.
Yes,
only one. And guess what? He's not going to coach forever. He's going to be gone in a couple of years. So, if Georgia's so upset about Alabama and this and that, stop being a crybaby. You don't play in the SEC West,
right?
You don't play them every year.
And I'm sorry for covering you up again because that graphic goes right over your head. So I apologize about that.
I'm not worried about that. No one's looking at me anyway, right?
And by the way, this is Kirby Smart. They are now 0-3 versus Saban while having huge leads at halftime. That has to, I hope this is politically correct to say now, but that has to suck to be a Georgia fan to know, hey, we can play with Alabama. We can get leads on Alabama. Darn it, we just can't finish.
And I keep reminding Georgia fans of this, and they don't like it when I bring this up, and it's not trying to put salt in the wound.
Right.
You've got to beat Alabama 3 consecutive times before you can replace them. Beating them once, we've seen that before. There's been multiple teams that have beaten Alabama once. I think every team in the SEC has beaten Alabama at least once since Saban's been there, minus Tennessee and Vanderbilt, but I think everybody else has beaten them. Maybe South Carolina has. South Carolina has with Spurrier. But everyone's beaten them once. And then we've seen guys like Hugh Freeze and Les Miles beat them twice.
Kentucky has not.
Kentucky has. Okay. Yeah.
Kentucky has not. Right.
Good call.
So it's Kentucky, Tennessee, and Vandy, and Arkansas has not. Arkansas has not.
Really? I would have guessed Arkansas had.
No, I don't. No, I don't think so. No.
Okay. Excuse me. So, so with that being said,
somebody let us know about Arkansas.
But also, we saw Les Miles beat them twice. We saw Hugh Freeze beat them twice.
Yes.
And we saw, hey, look where those guys are now. They're out of the conference.
Well, look at Gus Malzahn. He beats him every 4 years, but I mean, is that good enough for Auburn?
Yeah.
No.
And so if you want to dethrone Nick Saban and you want to take over,
yes,
you have got to beat Nick Saban 3 times. And I don't even know if that's enough. I would like to think it is, but no one's done it.
Right.
So.
All right, well, let's go on ahead, and we're not a controversial show, but my gosh, man, we've got to be this week because I was absolutely roasted on Twitter for saying that the SEC officials always protect Alabama. I lost a friend who is an Alabama fan because of it, but honestly, to me, this that I'm about to show you right now does not look like PI to me. Give me your thoughts as we roll the video, Heath.
All right, let's just show a small breakdown here.
I mean, he looked back for the football, and you're allowed to run the guy out of bounds. You see it all the time. The both of them have hands on each other. That to me does not look like pass interference.
You see that play a million times, and very rarely is the flag ever thrown. Matter of fact,
Yes.
watch the Bama defensive backs; they do that every time.
Yes.
No exception, every time. But also, I want to point out it's a business decision. Every conference protects a certain team.
Yeah.
And when Bear Bryant was asked about this ages ago when he was still head coach at Alabama back in the 70s, he just said, hey, the good teams get the good calls.
Yes.
And that was – he knows what's going on. Sylvester Croom talked about it. He talked about it over and over and over when he was head coach at Mississippi State. He talked about how he went from getting all the calls and knowing what that's like at Alabama to going to the other school. And he's like, man, this isn't fair to give them those calls and protecting them like that. Why are you protecting them? So for Alabama fans to say they don't get the calls.
Right.
Not true.
By the way, somebody, Hunter Gibson, just texted me and said this. So I want to thank him for saying this. And let me just go ahead and read it to you. Arkansas has not beaten Alabama in the Saban era, winless against Alabama since 2006.
Whoa, you're going back to Houston Nutt.
And believe it or
Reverend.
not, and I'm actually going to date myself a little bit here. I was actually just graduated high school the last time Arkansas had knocked off Alabama.
Wow, the Right Reverend Houston Nutt. Maybe we should get Houston Nutt on the show.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. I remember back SEC Media Days way back when. I used to absolutely love interviewing Houston Nutt. He gave the most genuine and honest answers. But I'll say this is the reason why I liked Houston Nutt so much. I would always ask the players, hey, tell me about, your head coach. He's good. He's nice. He's hard on us. Arkansas players used to light up. And they were like, oh, man, Coach Nutt did this. Coach Nutt, he came to my room, Coach Nutt. And I was just so impressed with that, so his players loved him. And that what made me like Houston Nutt. But, wow, the Right Reverend, 2006, the last time Arkansas beat Bama. Hey, Hunter Gibson, thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And enjoy that weather in Southern California.
Yes.
Hunter's almost part-time staff here with us.
Right. Let me go on ahead and start with let's go ahead and start with the picks. And we're going to start tonight as the Big Ten kicks off. We have Illinois at Wisconsin. It is going to be at 7 o'clock on the Big Ten Network, and Wisconsin is a 19-point favorite. But the reason that we are showing and previewing this game is because Illinois actually got the huge upset last year at home against Wisconsin. And let me take Wisconsin at the time was ranked 6th in the country and rated 6-0 during that game. And that was a signature win for the Illini last year. I think Wisconsin gets revenge tonight. But that was one of the major upsets that we witnessed last year in the Big Ten.
There is not going to be a lot of love for Lovie Smith after this one. I'm going with Wisconsin. I keep wondering how Lovie keeps getting jobs or how he gets jobs, then how he keeps them for so long.
Right.
But I don't have a lot of faith in Illinois this year. And but hey, at least they've had some time to practice and prepare for the season. So you might see all first games are a little rusty and things like that, but you might see cleaner football than what you did at the start of the SEC season. But yeah, I like Wisconsin. I like Wisconsin big.
Yes. Now, let me just go ahead and say we're not picking this game because both teams are horrible. But if we have any Tulsa or South Florida fans, Tulsa at South Florida is tonight at 6:30 on ESPN. So I just wanted to go ahead and say that if we have any Tulsa or South Florida fans watching, that game is also on tonight. All right, there is another game that is going to be rather interesting tonight. And let me go ahead and pop up the highlights for you right here. Give me just a second. You can go ahead and take over if you would like for a second.
Well, you know, Dari from the SEC Network, Dari grew up in Tulsa. I didn't know that. I was listening to a podcast, and I didn't know that Dari was from the Tulsa area. I was a little shocked at that. I was like, how did he end up in SEC country with all that? But no, going back to the Alana in Wisconsin, you know, the ground game in Wisconsin, it's been stable, but, you know, the passing game might shock a lot of people tonight. I don't think Illinois is going to be able to defend them on the ground, but I think they're more suspect in the air. So it'll be fun to kind of watch, see what happens on that game. But I don't expect much of the Alana on either side of the ball.
I could not find the highlights of this game, and I know why. Because I just remembered these two teams have not played since 2002, and I did not want to show old footage from that far back. So that it is going to be Louisiana, who suffered their first loss last week at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, up in Legion Field in downtown Birmingham, 7 p.m. on CBS Sports Network. Louisiana is a 3-point favorite. I like UAB at home.
Those are two teams with extremely
yes,
two coaches. Napier and Clark, you might see them at other jobs here soon. I know both of them were on the short list for Mississippi State and Ole Miss this past year. With that being said, it's kind of hard to predict. Napier's team seemed to be a little bit all over the place. Clark's teams are usually very fundamental in all aspects. I'm going to lean toward UAB on this one.
Yes. I agree with that. And I'm sorry I had to pull you full screen. I had to text someone. So, all right, next up is going to be tomorrow. And this game was a horrible game last year. College Game Day made a big deal out of it, and Nebraska got ran off the football field. You'll see here in the highlights, Taylor Martinez on the first drive throws an interception, and that was all she wrote for the Nebraska Cornhuskers as they got beat by Ohio State in Lincoln last year. This game is going to be at Ohio State, 11 a.m. on Fox, and Ohio State is a 26-point favorite. I like Ohio State to continue to roll in this game.
Not only do I like Ohio State, I like Ohio State winning this game by a very large margin. I don't think there's much to talk about in this game. I think this is going to be a snooze fest from the get-go. I don't think it's going to be much of a contest. And, hey, Steven, if Nebraska doesn't win the coin toss, they may not win anything at all.
I agree with that. Okay, so we both like Ohio State there. Let me go ahead and take off the video. And that's actually the first time we've actually gone through and picked the games before the highlights ended. So that was pretty cool. Next up is going to be a squeaky good game in the ACC, and it is North Carolina, who is coming off their first loss of the season, taking on their in-state rivals, North Carolina State, 11 a.m. on ESPN. And North Carolina is a 15.5-point favorite. I'm actually going North Carolina State in this game. I think that they are going to be licking their wounds after the loss at Tallahassee. I like the road team to knock off North Carolina tomorrow.
Woo. I don't know. I know it's going to be a good game.
Yes.
I expect it to be a good game. Mac Brown, he's just, again, consistent. And so NC State, if I'm cheering, I'm cheering for the Wolfpack. If I'm predicting, I'm going with the Tar Heels.
Okay, so you're going Tar Heels. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our first SEC game pick. And like we've been talking about all weekend long, not all weekend long, all show long, This is one of the games that we really focused on, and it is going to be either a 2-3, a 3-2 Auburn team at the end of this one, or a 1-4 Ole Miss team. So it is going to be 11 a.m. on the SEC network. Auburn is a 3.5-point favorite. Auburn at Ole Miss. I'm actually going with the Rebels beating Auburn. I think that, Lane Kiffin is going to be really upset. He's going to be pissed after the performance of Matt Corral and his offense last week. And I think they really get it going again against Auburn. And believe it or not, get this, this would be the first win for Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss at home. Because the first win that he got was on the road at Kentucky. I think he gets his first home win tomorrow morning at 11 a.m.
Wow. That's pretty bold, Stephen.
Yes.
I'm
rolling with the Lane train. Now go.
I hear you. Toot. Hey, what is the, I'm not a betting man, but what is the over-under, or excuse me, what's the over-under for the game?
Give me just a second. Keep talking, and I can check it out for you.
All right. I don't know what that over-under is, but I'm not going to be shocked if over 100 points is scored in this game. I won't be shocked in the slightest. A 49-54 game.
Yes.
I won't be shocked in the slightest. They scored Alabama and Ole Miss both scored over 100, didn't they, when they met just a couple of weeks ago? So
yes.
Because Bama was in the 60s, and I think Ole Miss had 49, something like that. So.
I'm looking at the ESPN app right here. Let me put this on the screen. From the ESPN app, the over-under is 71.5.
Wow. Hey, Vegas always knows something that we don't.
So that is the over-under on this game. I expect it to be high scoring, but I like Ole Miss. I really do. I like Lane Kiffin. And Auburn is going to 2-3, and I really feel like looking ahead that Auburn may not win another game this year. Let me pull up their schedule, because next they have LSU, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Alabama, and Texas A&M.
Wow, I am not there. I am not there yet. Wow, Stephen. Stephen's going bold.
I'm just not liking what I see out of Gus Malzahn on the sideline. It's feeling like to me that this Auburn team is looking more like the last year that Gene Chizik was there, unfortunately.
Wow. Stephen, man, you're coming at Auburn with all kinds of stuff today, man.
I'm not hating on Gus Malzahn. I'm just calling it like I see it every day.
I think that Gus Malzahn will keep it basic.
Right.
That Ole Miss defense is the worst defense in the SEC, and that defense might be the worst defense in America.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to pick on the Land Sharks.
Yeah.
Or as I've called them this season, the train wreck defense.
Yes.
You get the lane train and the train wreck defense. That defense is going to keep Ole Miss from winning multiple games.
Right.
It's gonna be bad. So with that being said, I'm kind of leaning toward Auburn tomorrow. I am not confident in Auburn tomorrow.
Right.
But I think tempo is going to play a huge factor against that Ole Miss defense tomorrow. And Ole Miss has no depth at defense at any position. Not a single one. They really don't have any talent on defense. So no talent, no depth. Gus Malzahn, the tempo. I'm going with the Auburn Tigers.
All right, next up is going to be a pretty decent game, I think, in the Big 12. We've actually not talked about the Big 12 in quite a while, and this game was actually supposed to be a blowout game last year. It was actually a sleeper and a squeaker. Jalen Hurts actually had two costly turnovers in this game that ultimately made it close last year. It is the TCU Horned Frogs hosting the Oklahoma Sooners. Now, of course, that was their records last year. These are the records this year. They are Oklahoma is 2-2. TCU is 1-2. 11 a.m. on ABC. Oklahoma is a 6.5-point favorite. Who do you like, Heath?
I'm leaning toward Oklahoma. I really am. I just I know Oklahoma's had some bad breaks, and everyone wants to scream overrated and this and that, but I think Oklahoma will figure some things out, and I don't know all the problems for that Sooner team, but I think that the puzzle is going to start coming together. They're going to start figuring things out. It might be the second half until it starts clicking, but I'm going with the Sooners.
Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, this game was the Big 12 clincher for the Oklahoma Sooners, as you will see here in just a minute. They clinched a berth in the Big 12 championship game because they knocked off TCU last year. But actually, I'm actually going with Oklahoma as well. I think that the win against Texas rejuvenated that football team, and I think they possibly could end the season with only those 2 losses.
Yeah. And I don't think anybody will be too terribly shocked if that happens. You know, if Oklahoma drops another game here or there, no one's going to be shocked. If they run the table, I don't think anyone's going to be shocked.
Yes.
It's 2020, and no one can get anything right.
Right. All right. Next up is going to be a matchup that has absolutely never happened before, and I actually had to splice some highlights together. So hopefully this will look okay because – you know, I've never really had to splice highlights together, but it actually is Southern Miss 1-4 at Liberty 5-0. Now, this game is going to be on ESPN3 at 12 o'clock. Liberty is a 13-point favorite, and here's the thing too: Hugh Freeze is taking on his alma mater of Southern Miss. And Southern Miss is coming off of COVID. Jake Abraham, the quarterback for Southern Miss, may not play because he could have an issue with COVID. So I'm going with Liberty, and I'm going with Liberty big. I think that they get to 6-0, and potentially they could be ranked this time next week when the AP poll comes out.
And that's to think that the Liberty Flames are going to get ranked.
Yes.
That's a little mind-boggling. But, you know, I was a little shocked when I saw it was only 13 points. I mean, Hugh Freeze has been putting up points all year, as he always does. And Southern Miss has had a problem defending it. So when you said 13, I was like, whoa, that's – but again, Vegas knows something that we don't. But with that being said, I think this game tomorrow is a job interview. I think it's a job interview for Hugh Freeze. I won't be shocked if we see some magic on special teams. I'm not going to be shocked if we see more than one trick play. I wouldn't be shocked if we see a trick play to start the game. I like Liberty. I like Hugh Freeze. I like the Flames. Southern Miss, hey, they showed a little something. They got a win, but I just don't see it happening tomorrow.
I got you. All right, man. Well, let me just go ahead and say that we're going to the big Alabama-Tennessee matchup next. And we actually have somebody that has joined us on the show, as everybody else can. So they actually have a question about the Alabama-Tennessee matchup. So let me go ahead and pull them in here. And Landon, how's it going, bud?
What's up, guys? How's it going? Hey, listen, Landon here. This is my fiance, Jordan. Jordan had a question about this weekend's game. Jordan, take it away for Stingray.
Okay, Stingray. Will Tennessee be able to move the ball on Alabama?
Honestly, I don't think so. Just simply because of all of the issues that they had last week, and Garantano, sorry. That's a weird name to say. Anyway, he had turnover issues last week. He had them in the Georgia game as well. I don't think they'll be able to move the ball just simply because that offense is somewhat of a train wreck right now.
Yeah.
What do you think, Heath?
I think they will be able to move the ball on them some. I really do. A lot, no. Some, yeah. That Bama defense I'm not sold on, and they've got to get things figured out. I don't know if they do it. Third Saturday in October, everybody in the Southeast used to shut down what they were doing to watch this game, and now this game is one of the most boring games. We can all thank Nick Saban for that. So, Tennessee's never beaten Alabama. It's not going to happen tomorrow.
No.
And this will get ugly. But I do expect Tennessee to move the ball. Was it last year that Tennessee had so many problems and we got the double bird salute from the Tennessee player late in the game? Was that last year?
No, I think that was 2 years ago.
2 years ago?
Nighttime game. Last year was a nighttime game.
Hopefully we'll be bird free for tomorrow's game. But
yes,
I think they'll move the ball some. A lot, no.
This is a really bad time for Alabama to be coming on the Tennessee schedule because they look so good going into that Georgia game. And then, Kentucky comes to town and they get beaten 34-7. And then here comes Nick Saban in Alabama. So that's not good if you're a Tennessee ball fan, man.
Well, hey, guys, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for answering my questions. We'll keep watching the rest of the time. But y'all have a good one. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, Landon.
All right, man. So once again, that is 2:30. CBS Alabama is a 21.5-point favorite, and I agree with that. So let me go ahead and roll the highlights for this one. And man, I just Tennessee came so close to knocking off Alabama, and it was a decent game last year. But unfortunately, it was just too much Alabama. Obviously Tua Tagovailoa here throws an interception after they're up 7-0. And then Tua ultimately got hurt in this football game and had to come out, and the backup, who is the starter now, Mac Jones, made an appearance in this game last year, and he moved the ball quite well on Tennessee, as you will see here. He was faced with a 3rd down and 10. He throws a screen pass to Jalen Waddle, and eventually Waddle gets the first down. But a little bit later on in the drive, as you'll see here in just a second, Tennessee actually did get some pressure on him and ultimately gave the ball back to Garantano right there. He sacked Mac Jones. So Mac Jones has seen this defense in person last year, and I think that's going to help them moving forward. Now, Garantano obviously fumbled the ball in the second half as they were going in to try to make it closer, and Diggs ran it all the way back and ultimately sealed the deal for Alabama and sugarcoated it. And as you can see, Garantano here just a second gets a mouthful from Jeremy Pruitt, and Nick Saban in Alabama ultimately won that game 35-13 over his previous defensive coordinator, Jeremy Pruitt. I think it will be worse of a beatdown tomorrow up at Rocky Top.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the schedule here after the Bama game. They got a week off. Tennessee has a week off.
Yes.
But it's Arkansas, it's A&M, Auburn, Vandy, and then Florida. So they get a week off, and then they've got 3 really hard games.
Yeah.
Steven, I mean, you talk about a team that may not win a game for the rest of the year. I mean, if I don't think that's the case for Tennessee, but
they may beat Vandy.
Yeah, they may, but I mean, I think Vandy's got the upper edge in the last 5 years on that content. And Vandy's been terrible this year, but man, losing 4 of your last 5, that's going to be brutal. And if you count last week, 5 of your last 6. So, man, why is Tennessee so streaky? So trendy. They streak one way, then they streak the other. So, I don't have much faith in Tennessee to do much. I think they'll move the ball, but I don't think it's going to be much.
All right, next up is going to be Iowa State at Oklahoma State, and this one could ultimately be for first place in the Big 12. And let me go ahead and roll the highlights for you. And this was a really good game last year. This is going to be 2:30 on Fox, and Oklahoma State is a 3.5-point favorite. And as you can see, it was close to Halloween when this game played last year, and so fans ultimately, was in the dress-up theme there. But Oklahoma State ultimately had a pick 6 there late in the game last year that ultimately propelled the Oklahoma State Cowboys to the win. Once again, they are a 3.5-point favorite tomorrow 2:30 on Fox. But I'm actually going with Iowa State there, knocking off both Oklahoma schools. I think they, earlier they knocked off Oklahoma. I think they get Oklahoma State tomorrow.
Wow. I wish this was an old wrestling match, title versus hair. Maybe we get that mullet off Gundy.
Yeah.
I like Iowa State tomorrow. I don't know if they're going to win. I'm a fan of Gundy. I'm a fan of his team. But Iowa State I think that stuck in their craw last year. Knowing they had that game, they gave that game away, and this year preparing for it. I'm with you, Steven. I kind of like Iowa State tomorrow. Well, if OSU comes out there and destroys them, I won't be shocked, but I'm going to kind of pull for Iowa State and the Cyclones tomorrow.
That's what I'm doing, the Cyclone, dude.
Yeah, I see that.
So I just wanted to let everybody know what I was doing, but Cyclones turn like this, so I'm doing the Cyclone. All right, next up is going to be a interesting game up there in the Big Ten. And ultimately, I really feel like that this is the make it, and I hate to say this, but I think this is the make it or break it year for Brian Brom at Purdue. I mean, they have absolutely done nothing since he's been up there. Now, yes, they've had some bad injuries while he's been up there at Purdue, but man, they really, this guy came in with a lot of momentum, and he has just lost it at Purdue. Iowa at Purdue tomorrow, 2:30, Big Ten Network. Iowa is a 3-point favorite. I've got to go with what I think is the better team. I like the Hawkeyes.
I'm torn on this game only because Iowa has had so much drama during the offseason and through COVID, and coaches have been let go. Coaches or players were claiming racial tensions and things, and strength and conditioning coach got let go, and a long-time strength conditioning coach. So much drama with Iowa and the Hawkeyes. I will say this: if the Hawkeyes have time to prepare, they win.
Yes.
They've had time to prepare for this one. So I do like the Hawkeyes, but I think this game's going to be sloppy, but I do lean toward the Hawkeyes of winning this one.
I agree with that. All right, next up is going to be, we're going to go through this really quickly. We talked with Cole about this. We actually previewed this game a little bit earlier, and it is going to be Kentucky at Missouri. Missouri is actually, Kentucky is a 5.5-point favorite, 3 p.m. on the SEC network. And Missouri has not played since their win against LSU due to COVID with the issue at Vandy. So they've not played. Kentucky has. Kentucky's a great football team. They are a ball-hawking football team. And last year, Kentucky absolutely beat down Missouri. I like Kentucky 2 years in a row over the Missouri Tigers.
Well, the best thing that could have happened to Missouri is having some time off after that LSU game. I think if they played the next week, Missouri would have lost. But they had some time to celebrate it, get it out of their system, and kind of come back to earth. With that being said, I like Kentucky. I mean, let's call it what it is. That Kentucky defense is going to be stingy through the air. They're going to be stingy on the ground. They're going to make you do things that you don't want to do. And you got a freshman quarterback. That's going to be hard for Mizzou to overcome. Now, if Mizzou does overcome that and wins this game, look out. Missouri's about to take off.
Yep.
I don't see it happening tomorrow, though.
Yep, Kentucky wins easily there. All right, next up is going to be a squeaky good game. And we talked about this. You actually talked about it because, Miles Brennan is not playing or will not start tomorrow. It is South Carolina and LSU. And this one also, I had to splice together some highlights because they've not played each other since 2017. So this is the LSU bad defense against South Carolina. South Carolina is 2-2. LSU is 1-2. LSU is a 6-point favorite, 6 p.m. on ESPN. I'm actually going with Coach Boom and the cocky Gamecocks.
Wow. I mean, when's the last time LSU's played? Missouri? So they've had basically 2 weeks off to kind of get together and get better and get ready. You know, LSU's got 2 weeks prepared now. Will we see anything? Man, that's going to be a tough. I mean, I just got a feeling Coach Boom has got something dialed up for him. But you know what? I don't think Coach O is going to be sitting back and just ready to hand it off. I'm so torn on this one. My head tells me South Carolina. My heart tells me LSU. And usually I go with my head, but this one I'm going with my heart. I'm going with the Tigers.
Okay. So that game is going to be under the lights at Tiger Stadium. So we'll see. But I don't know. All right. The reason that we are picking this game is because everybody pretty much knows this football team, as they were the Cinderella story a long time ago. And let me see. Going ahead and talk for a minute, man.
Long time ago, we're talking about 1933 when we invented chocolate chip cookies.
Yes, we can talk about that.
What? You know what? I wonder what the most popular cookie was back then before 1933. Was it just like a sugar cookie?
I have no clue.
I mean, yeah. What happened on that? No, you talk about LSU and South Carolina tomorrow. What we were previously talking about. I don't understand. I don't understand how LSU is not stepping up as quickly as possible. Again, I know it's a young team. I know they've got so much talent, but you would think they could out-athlete some of these games.
Yes.
Especially that Missouri game. You think they would out-athlete Missouri. I mean, Missouri has nowhere near the talent that LSU does. I mean, Missouri started a freshman quarterback against LSU. A freshman quarterback against LSU. Yeah, you heard that right.
Yes.
And Missouri pulled that off. So, I still don't understand how things are coming around. But, you know, South Carolina tomorrow, I mean, Colin Hill, if you don't know Colin Hill yet, watch that game tomorrow. He's the quarterback for South Carolina. Shaw Smith, the receiver there, they're a dynamic duo of connecting. And, again, that South Carolina defense, it's not a world beater, but it is aggressive, and it gets after them at certain times. So that'll be a fun game to watch. And you got Utah State and Boise State. Oh, boy.
And I do not know what happened to the highlights. I put them together, but unfortunately, I guess I didn't actually export that file to the desktop. So I have no clue what I did with those highlights. But last year's game, Boise beat Utah State at Utah State 56-7. And this game is going to be at 6 p.m. on FS1. I like Boise State on the blue turf.
The Smurf turf.
Yes.
This might be the snoozer of the day. If you want to take a nap, you want to go to bed early, put this on.
Yes.
Yeah, this one's – hey, if the Bulls don't win the coin toss, they're not going to win anything the rest of the day.
That's awesome, man. All right, next up is going to be we actually have a ranked versus ranked matchups to end the show. And first off, we are going to start in the Big Ten. It is going to be the Gophers of Minnesota hosting Khaki Pants and Michigan. Now,
Khaki Pants.
Yep. Now, the last time these two teams met, it was a blowout win by Michigan. However, the year before, as you're going to see on the highlights here, it was a blast of a game that Minnesota lost because on the last play of the game, they could not punch it in the end zone against that stout Michigan defense. And ultimately, Michigan left Minnesota with the little brown jug right there. They stop them on the goal line as time expired, and the Minnesota Golden Gophers suffered defeat, and Michigan took back the little brown jug from Minnesota. So there you see what they play for tomorrow. This game is going to be the primetime game on ABC at 6:30. Michigan is a 3-point favorite. I like Mr. Khaki Pants in this game simply because Minnesota has a ton of COVID issues this week.
Yeah. Here's your fun question of the day, Stephen. Do you know what folks in northern Minnesota call a water fountain?
No.
A bubbler.
Wow.
Get a drink from the bubbler. Yeah, you get a drink out of that brown jug if you go over to Michigan sideline and go back to Ann Arbor with them, because Michigan's just going to take that jug in that game, and this is not going to be close. I like PJ Fleck. They'll come out with heart. They'll come out and fight. But, yeah, no. Mr. Khaki Pants.
Yep, I like Michigan as well. All right, next up, and I'll say this too, I really feel like that Michigan and Mr. Khaki Pants is on the hot seat. So I think I really feel like that this is going to help his, help him get off the hot seat a little bit by beating Minnesota.
I don't know, man. Minnesota, Michigan fans, they're a little crazy up there.
Right.
They're a little out of touch too. But let's keep rolling.
And finally, we have a decent game. I believe this game is in the AAC. It is going to be a late kick. It is going to be 8 p.m. on ESPN2. SMU hosts Cincinnati. SMU is a 2.5-point favorite. And honestly, I've got to tell you, I like the Bearcats on the road. I like the higher-ranked team, and I'm going against Vegas and their 2.5.
Ooh, wow! I'm going opposite. I'm riding with Vegas on this one. I like SMU. I like the Ponies to make something happen here tomorrow. The Mustangs have not shown a lot in years past, but they're starting to come together. Cincinnati, I just don't think they're going to be consistent enough. Road game, I think it won't be a hostile environment, but I just like SMU at home. I just think that the Mustangs make magic happen. Is Cincinnati the better team? Yes. Do I usually go with the better team? I do. But I just got a feeling something about the Mustangs tomorrow that might be a little magic in store.
So I like Cincinnati. All right, man. Well, that's going to wrap up the pick segment of the Stingray Show. We really want to thank everybody that came on and participated with us. And I'm sorry that, unfortunately, I could not see the chat that pulled up over here. So I couldn't see what you guys were typing in. But we will get that worked out. But hopefully the video looked good. You guys enjoyed the interview with Cole Cubelic. And hopefully we can continue to have great football tonight and tomorrow.
All right, Stephen. Hey, what are you going to eat tomorrow during the games?
I don't have a clue. What about you?
I don't know. Nothing fancy. I probably got some Ruffles and some French onion dip I'll definitely start off with. Then after that, I don't know if it'll go to pizza or to wings or both or what. Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll let you know next week.
All right, man. Well, that's going to do it for the Stingray Show. I hope everybody has a great week, a great rest of your Friday weekend, and we'll see you right back here on the Stingray Show on Tuesday of next week. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. And as always, God bless.
The Dogs and Stingray are coming for you.
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Good afternoon, Mr. Feinbaum. Stingray here, and I'm about to shoot the bull with you like all the Auburn students do down at Auburn.
Worst defense ever!
So without further ado, here
for the field goal. The kick is up. It is away. It is no good. Chris Davis bringing it out of the end zone. Oh, he's got blockers. Chris Davis up the sideline. Here he goes. Here we go, guys. Dobbs back to pass. Launching the ball. Jennings, he's got it. Jennings, he's got it. Touchdown, Tennessee. They shocked the Dogs in Sanford Stadium. Are you kidding me? My God almighty. What an epic way for the Tennessee-Georgia rivalry to end.